Hey everyone, it's Mauricio Dominguez, your lifeguard on duty and host for this year's iteration of Annual Conference Live, bringing you conversations straight to you live and for free. I've got two very important, very wonderful people with me here today to get us started on this series of exclusive interviews and conversation that we're bringing to you free and live. First up, we've got Lynette H., Director of the Fellowship Program. Thanks you so much, Lynette, for joining us today. And Matthew Milmed, who is our Benevolent Overlord Executive Director of 0 to 3. So thanks so much for joining us today, Lynette and Matthew. We're here today to talk about game changers and life changers, and more specifically, investing in early childhood development leaders, so as to transform systems. Can you tell us more about why those two terms specifically, game changers and life changers, are so appropriate?
So, thank you so much for having us. The vision for the 0 to 3 Fellowship Program is really a global network of diverse leaders who have the skills, the knowledge, the passion, and the commitment to make the world a better place for infants and toddlers. And to realize that vision, we need people who are willing to disrupt the status quo, to change the rules, to create new ways of being and working so that we have systems who can meet the needs of young children at this moment in time. And so we need those who are really willing to step outside of kind of our current way of being and create new ways of being in service to young children and families so that they can change the systems and change lives.
Great, thank you, Lynette.
So Mauricio, thank you, and thank you, Lynette, for all that you do for 0 to 3. When we use the word game changer, I think what we're really trying to get across is that babies and toddlers don't live in all these adult constructs, all these systems that we've created. But we have all these professionals who have different knowledge and different discipline, and they work in their silos. We need people who are boundary spanners, people who are willing to test and push the envelope to make change happen that really meets the needs of babies and toddlers where they are. And if they are game changers, they then become life changers, because we know from the science of early childhood that how well we think, we learn, we control our emotions, we relate to each other the rest of our lives. Everything that makes us human is really being set in those early months and years of life. It is the foundation for who we become. And if we can set strong foundations, we are then becoming life changers. We're creating a really incredible foundation upon which babies and toddlers can grow and thrive and become productive citizens when they reach adulthood.
Great, thank you both. Can you speak more specifically to what 0 to 3 is doing, and then sort of as an offshoot of that, what our viewers can do to nurture their professional development?
You want to go first?
So 0 to 3 has had a fellowship program, which Lynette directs, which is a very highly competitive program to get into, and she'll describe that. I would say that beyond that, I really think it's incumbent on anyone who is a professional who works in this field. And I would include people from early interventionists to home visitors to childcare, early educators to pediatricians, the whole gamut of professionals who touch the lives of babies and toddlers. All of us collectively can, in fact, push the envelope of our own comfort and become engaged in different kinds of ways. One way, in particular, is to become involved in the policy-making process. We're all citizens. We all have a voice. And we can be that voice for babies and toddlers if we allow ourselves to be educated about the issues and to get involved. And so that's another way that we can do leadership.
Yes, that's lovely, and I completely agree. One of the things we believe to be true in the fellowship program is that everyone has the capacity to lead, to be an advocate for babies and families. And so wherever you are in your context, when you see that there are things that can be done, that systems can be changed, that practices and policies can be improved, that you have the capacity to be a voice in advocacy of young children and families, and not just believe that only somebody in a position of power or authority are the only people who can advance change, that we all have that capacity to be voices of influence and advocacy on behalf of young children and families.
Great. And you've both alluded to this now. I'm wondering if you could speak to the 0 to 3 Fellowship Program and tell us more about how that factors in to the investment in game changers. That are going to be really, as you describe, working to change systems. What's the relation there?
You know, it's interesting. I almost want to. The 0 to 3 Fellowship is a legacy program. It has been a program at the organization since the early 80s, since like 1981. And I was actually going to invite Matthew if he wanted to share a little bit about its beginnings, if he'd like, and then I can kind of share just a little bit of where we are now and what are our real priorities. Do you mind?
Sure. So the program was actually started by members of the board who themselves were really leaders in creating what we refer to as the infant toddler field. So they really were trying to share knowledge. They came together in some ways like the blind men and women with the elephant. They had different pieces of the puzzle of child development, but they came from different knowledge, different disciplines. They came to learn from each other. And they realized that they needed to have people following them. So most of them were academics and researchers, and so they brought along their brightest and best students, and they became the first iterations of the fellowship program. And many of them have gone on to have incredible careers, really pushing the envelope for babies and toddlers in many different ways. And about a quarter of our board of directors these days are actually members who've gone through the fellowship program.
Yes, and so about a few years ago, we went through a deep strategic kind of revisioning of the fellowship program to a great extent because we know so much more than we knew in the 80s about the critical importance of the earliest years. And what we also understand is while research is absolutely important and will always be a foundation for how we understand these early years, that policy and practice are also critically important, and we need people to be change agents, to be change makers who have the knowledge and the desire to actually transform systems. So now we have a significant focus on engaging professionals who are early to mid-career professionals predominantly, who are in positions of influence to actually advance systems change in a ways that really make the world a better place. And so we do this work through a series of very intensive retreats where we have protected time for people to really do a deep dive around understanding the research, the literature, to engage in critical thinking, dialogue, and debate to build their capacities and skills for systems change, and to also learn from each other, to build meaningful relationships among fellows, to build relationships with 0 to 3 staff and board in a way that they can take that experience back to their communities, back to their organizations, and really advance the work that we think is so important to promote children's healthy development and well-being.
Really a lot of benefits of being a fellow that you're speaking to.
It
really
is,
a lot.
yes. And it's fun too.
Great. And then finally here, when and how can professionals apply to the fellowship that might be interested in?
So we anticipate that in the spring of 2020, we will open the application period for the 2020-22 fellowship class. And we really invite all early childhood professionals to really apply and to be able and to be willing to, bring yourself and all of your experiences, your perspectives, your ideas to potentially to this experience. So we look for people through a broad diversity of experiences, backgrounds, trainings, geography. So we really invite people to see themselves as leaders and as a potential fellow in our program.
And I would just add to that I really strongly encourage anyone who really feels that they're trying to push hard against change, whether it's in practice or it's in policy or within their institution, and they're looking to try to figure out what are the tools that I need to be able to do that, to apply to become a fellow. It is a very competitive process, but the very process itself starts to get you to think about what you need to be doing to make a change in your life professionally. And if you're selected, I think that you will really benefit incredibly from that.
And I'd love to just make one more pitch for people who are fellows. Once they have completed the fellowship program, they join the Academy of 0 to 3 Fellows, for which we have fellows literally all around the world who are doing transformative work to change systems for infants and toddlers.
A real network, it sounds like.
A real network, yes.
Well, great. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our conversation. Make sure to tune in for future conversations with us at 0to3.org/AC Live. I want to thank one more time Matthew and Lynette for their time that they spent with us today to share more about the 0 to 3's fellowship program. Thank you both.
Thank you.